Sound check, sound check, sound check, sound check. Sound check, Madison Brooks reporting I'm not getting any sound. What the hell ear was? Did you just lick my ear?
It works. Let's try it.
What the ew. Going live. Sound check.
Good evening, Michael Malice here with a fresh dose of Nightshade for you to lick people's ears to. Our top story tonight, everyone's been bugging me about this on Twitter all weekend, and I did a bit of a live stream about it. That's true. That lower third is accurate. By the way, over the weekend, I got to see Dave Landau perform stand-up. And I always thought Dave was a funny guy. I always thought he was a smart guy. And it's one thing when like I did work with like MMA people. It's one thing to know, oh, this is a cool person. And then when you see them like in the cage, it's like, oh, God, how is this coming out of you? So seeing someone who you're friends with perform, he was really, 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 really solid. And I'm going to tell his opening joke, and I'm going to bungle it. Is that okay? It's okay when you tell someone's joke, right?
Maybe paraphrase? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember verbatim, but he opened, and the thing is, Dave is, his demeanor is very kind of, like, happy-go-lucky, upbeat, he doesn't have that, it doesn't come off as, like, dark and edgy. And he has this whole bit about, like, oh, I've got a kid, my kid's 2 years old, and don't you hate it when people have their kids and they're just walking around, they're so obsessed, they put it on Facebook, they're showing it to everybody, oh, look, even to strangers, oh, look at my photos of their kid, and it's like, lady, it's been 2 years, they're not going to find him. I was like, holy shit. That was his opener. I was like, all right, check, please. I'm out.
Were you at the Comedians in the Compound show?
No, this was on Saturday.
Oh, I went because I saw him at Comedians in the Compound.
Wasn't that was full?
It was full, and everybody was awesome. But like you just said about Dave, like he blew me away. I was very blown away.
And I don't know if that's an insult. I didn't know he had it in him because it's such a disconnect with his personality. Who's very warm and friendly, like he's a really nice, warm, fun guy, and then just going there, and then he had this whole bit I'm never going to get into with the kitten, and it's just like, holy shit,
you could tell
dude.
Like he really knows his craft, like he structured everything very well. It was very professional.
Yeah, I was very, very blown away. So it was impressive. So everyone's been tweeting at me all weekend about what's going on with North Korea. And I did a bit of a live stream last night, but for those of you who have lives and didn't see it, let me break down what has happened. So North Korea, as I've said many times and will say many times in the future, has this secret military device that causes everyone on Earth to have amnesia. And when they do something that they've done 6 months before, everyone acts like it's unprecedented and they're running around with their chickens with their heads cut off. What does this all mean? And we've never seen this before. And it's like, we just did this 6 months ago. Like, what is happening? So I'm sure you have the pics, right? Like, there's President Trump. For those who haven't heard, he crossed the DMZ, which is the, air quotes, demilitarized zone, which is actually the most militarized border on Earth, that separates North and South Korea. Right there, I've been there. It's a tourist spot. Basically, there's 5 buildings. 2 are controlled by the North, 2 by the South, and 1 where they meet. And there's a table, and you go in there, and whatever. The Northern guards are there, and the Southern guards are there, and there's all this mystique around it. Where I assure you, there's no mystique necessary to be had. It's pretty boring. And so this is the footage, and it's like, oh my God, and they always. You have to, the corporate press, they always couch it very carefully. Like, oh, I love it. Like, for example, they talk about terrorism. They'll be like, since 2002, Muslim extremists only killed 3 people in America. It's like, anything happened in 2001? It's interesting that you're cutting it off right there. So with this, they say, well, he's the first sitting president to step foot in North Korea. And this is why it's not actually that big of a deal that everyone is making out to be. And here's a couple of reasons. First of all, 2 presidents have been to North Korea before, not in their tenure. Bill Clinton has gone there after his presidency to get that Ling reporter who was being held hostage by North Korea. There was a photo of him and Kim Jong-il sitting there. He went to Pyongyang proper. The thing with me, why I'm thinking about this, like, if they're taking pictures where I can take pictures, it's not that big a deal. When the North Korean diplomat was in the fucking Oval Office, that's when it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like with the pin. He's sitting in the Oval Office, like the head of this, high up in this terrorist gangster regime, is sitting by the Resolute desk. It's just like, what? So again, if every tourist can go stand there, to me, that's not a big deal. Number one. So Bill Clinton has been in North Korea. Not only that, Jimmy Carter in 1994 went to North Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un's grandfather, the great leader Kim Il-sung, who was the founder of North Korea, and he brokered this big deal that came away to nothing because Kim Il-sung died shortly thereafter. But that was a huge, huge deal. American president goes to North Korea. A far bigger deal was President Moon, who's pictured here in the middle, president of South Korea, crossing the DMZ with Kim Jong-un. That was a huge deal. Because this is North and South coming together. That's what this is all about, the North and the South. We are very much secondary players here. And they're walking back and forth, holding hands. And it's like, holy shit, this is like freedom of migration in a very, very micro sense between the two Koreas. And who are technically, as you all probably know, still at war. That's a big deal. Another huge deal is Singapore, where you had President Trump coming on, and you had Kim Jong-un coming on the stage in front of all those flags, U.S. and North Korean flags, and shaking their hands in front of the paparazzi, or the press, whatever. That was a huge deal. And it was a huge deal because, A, they had a meeting, but as I've said before many times, that he got Kim Jong-un to leave his country to take this meeting. So it's very much a Hollywood thing. Are you coming to my table? Are you going to your table? The fact that it's even neutral ground is a big deal. So the thing is, it's like, oh, president steps foot in North Korea. This is like saying someone who's been in JFK has been in New York City. Like, it's like going to the airport. No one lives here. This is the farthest south edge. Like, there's not even any people near there. So it's not like really being in North Korea proper, as if President Trump had gone to Pyongyang. Like, that would have been a big deal, as Madeleine Albright had done, and raised a toast to Kim Jong-il there, miles away, in 2000 miles away from concentration camps. So those were all really big deals. So this is like a shitty sequel, because it's a shitty sequel regarding the DMZ, and it's a shitty sequel regarding the meeting, and nothing has come of this other than they're still talking, which is great, which is what we want. We want them to be talking. But in terms of like, oh my God, history is being made, and not really. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this whole subject. People have been bugging me, so everyone needs to just calm down. And the criticism of Trump, which is always overblown, in this sense is correct. What's the progress being made? Nuclear weapons, I don't care about. For the human rights abuses and closing down the actual concentration camps in North Korea. I said this I was on Breitbart this morning doing an interview. I'm like, if AOC wants to talk about the concentration camps we have in the southern border, show her the ones on Google Earth that are in North Korea where the people are, starved for political purposes. It's just insanity. So that is where the progress needs to happen. So it's nice pictures, but like, it's not any, and the real historic ones, and all of you, I know most people who watch this show and this network are dead inside, let's face it, and self-medicating. If you go on YouTube and look up Korean family reunions, and these are families who were separated by the Korean War of the 50s, who hadn't seen each other for decades, like fathers and daughters, like brothers, and they're reunited for like a day. And you have to catch up for like 30 years. You watch it, you're gonna lose your mind. It's like in terms of things that like will make you be like have hope in humanity and like lose your mind. It's that. It's those videos where people who are deaf have hearing for the first time. They turn on the cochlear implant. Like, that will make you lose your mind. And also the one, which I'm understanding now is a little bit fake, where it's these people turn on those glasses that make them not colorblind anymore. And they're like, oh my God, it's so pretty. And apparently they're all fake because they go from like black and white to black and white and like a little gray. But it's like, oh my God, gray. Oh, that's so beautiful. They should have said a poet.
Those are expensive too.
They are.
They could be up to like $400 or $500. And
oh,
if
yeah.
you want a prescription, it's like $700.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And if my wardrobe hasn't been made clear to you guys, I am slightly colorblind. It's a true story. So let's talk about, obviously the debates were on Thursday, and I did a live stream about those. But what I wanted to do, I did an executive decision. There were a lot of stories that fell in between the cracks that I hadn't seen going wide, which I thought were very important to cover. So that's the kind of thing I like to do with this show. So let's cover some of those stories first. And if there's time later in the week, we'll talk about debates, but I think it's kind of been discussed ad nauseum on social media. Bank of America. Okay, one of the things I've talked about, other people have talked about is, all right, everyone's like, oh, Twitter, Facebook, they're censoring people. Sure. But if that issue gets solved, it's going to be PayPal and the banks, and that's already started happening. Okay, so that is where the next front is going to be on this national self-segregation and this cultural war. Bank of America has announced it is ending its association with companies that Bank of America, which was bailed out by you, will end its association with companies that provide prisoner and immigrant detention services at both the state and federal levels. That's right. They're cutting ties with companies that are following the law. The move comes amid growing public concerns about the nation's border policies. A spokesperson said on Wednesday that Bank of America had discussed the issues with its clients that provide these services. And while the bank appreciates steps that have taken to properly execute their contractual and humanitarian responsibilities, it ultimately decided to exit the relationships. They said, lacking further legal and policy clarity, and in recognition of the concerns of our employees and stakeholders in the communities we serve, it is our intention to exit these relationships. The Miami Herald previously reported that Bank of America was a financier of Caliburn, which the newspaper said runs a facility called Homestead under a U.S. government contract. The Herald said the bank provided a $300 million loan to the company and a $75 million credit line. The paper indicated Homestead is not a prison, but protesters say it functions as one. The minors held inside are not allowed to leave. You mean to tell me that if you just walk into some random country, you can just go wherever you want? What are we, North Korea? Bank of America declined to comment Wednesday regarding companies with which it had previously worked. Private prisons have been in the spotlight. Friday, this is 2 Fridays ago, Elizabeth Warren called for private correctional and detention facilities to be banned. Shares of private prison operators dropped following her remarks. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has been criticized over everything. Over conditions for migrant children at a Customs and Border Protection facility in Clinton, Texas. I think it's unconscionable. These kids need to be sent back home to safety immediately. We have to liberate them from our concentration camps. And there was a woman today, this congresswoman posted on Twitter. Some migrant woman is being held, and she doesn't have her epilepsy medication. I mean, it's going to be quite a walk without that. And I said, she needs to get returned to her primary care physician immediately. On Monday, the Department of Health and Human Services said 250 migrant children who were held at the facilities will be shifted into the agency's shelter system. And Wednesday, employees of online furniture retailer Wayfair walked out from the company's headquarters in Boston in protest of the company selling furniture. You know who's not going to walk out? The gnomes who build the furniture at IKEA. Wayfair said it would donate $100,000 to the American Red Cross to help those in need at the border. I got to tell you, it is really gutsy and ballsy when you're at a fucking furniture company to walk out. I mean, this is not rocket science. You're putting together tables. The idea that, what they should do, honestly, what I would do, because I'm a dick, is if I was that furniture company, Wayfair, I would replace all those people with illegal aliens who are going to work at a fraction of the cost and would be hard workers. And they're not going to have a problem with the commute because they walked all the way here. All right. And more drama. I was saying, oh, blah, 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 Twitter and all this other stuff. Twitter did a very subtle move last week. People have not talked about it. And they are making moves to make sure 2016 doesn't happen again. And they're changed the rules in order to fuck with Trump. Because Trump basically tweeted his way into the presidency. Here's what they did. They released a statement. They go, our highest priority is to protect the health of the public conversation on Twitter. An important part of that is ensuring our rules, blah, 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 blah. In the past, We've allowed certain tweets that violate our rules to remain on Twitter because they were in the public's interest. But it wasn't clear when and how we made those determinations. To fix that, we're introducing a new notice that will provide additional clarity in these situations and sharing more on when and why we'll use it. I think we have a picture of what this is going to look like, right? But I think, yeah, let's blow that up. They go, serving the public conversation includes providing the ability for anyone to talk about what matters to them. Anyone, right? Yeah, anyone can be on Twitter. Just like Laura Loomer, right? This can be especially important when engaging with government officials and political figures. By nature of their positions, these leaders have outsized influence and sometimes say things that could be considered controversial or invite debate and discussion. A critical function of our service is providing a place where people can openly and publicly hold their leaders and hold them accountable. Great. That sounds nice. Oh, wait, there's more. No, leave that up. Leave that up. With this in mind, there are certain cases, many such cases, where it may be in the public's interest to have access to certain tweets, even if they would otherwise be in violation of our rules. On the rare, I think the word rare is going to have a different meaning for me than for Jack Dorsey, and for you guys too. On the rare occasions when this happens, we'll place a notice. Look at that. What it says, the Twitter rules about abusive behavior apply to this tweet. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain available. Learn more. You have to click through to view it. Basically, Twitter is giving you a prescription, like a doctor, in order to see certain tweets. It's a warning label. It's amazing, and you know this is going to apply primarily to the president. The idea that any private company is going to be giving warning labels to Trump's tweets is frankly hilarious, especially when it's going to be like troll tweets. He tweeted again that meme that Carpe Diem made of a Time magazine cover, doctored video, where it says Trump 2020, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, and he's just president through all these years. Because as we all know, Trump is still going to be president when he's 150 years old. Because that's the Constitution. If you just lock the door at the Oval Office, they don't know what to do, per the Constitution. They said, on the rare case this happens, you will place a notice to provide additional context and clarity. We'll also take steps, here we go. We don't shadow ban, they say, right? We'll take steps to make sure the tweet is not algorithmically elevated on our service, to strike the right balance between enabling free expression, fostering accountability, and reducing the potential harm caused by these tweets. Let's talk about balance. So if President Trump has a tweet that has 30,000 likes, and his opponent has a tweet that has 10,000 likes, that's not balanced, right? Got to fix that balance. That's one very easy example where they can use nice words with a straight face and pull off their bullshit. And here's what they say. Who does this apply to? We will only consider applying this notice on tweets from accounts that meet the following criteria. Here we go. 1, be a government official running for or someone running for public office, or waiting succession. Fine. 2, have more than 100,000 followers and be verified. I don't have 100,000 yet, so it doesn't apply to me. That said, there are cases such as direct threats of violence or calls to commit violence against an individual that are unlikely to be considered in the public interest. I'm sorry, it is extremely in the public interest if a public official is calling for violence against an individual. How is it not in the public interest if a Senate candidate says, I'm going to kick your ass, or is like, I'm going to come to your house and shoot you? That person should not be elected, depending on who they're talking to. Then they should definitely be elected for life. The notice will be immediately visible in your home timeline and across other areas like search. How will we decide when to use this? A cross-functional team, including trust and safety, legal, public policy, and regional teams will determine if the tweets are a matter of public interest based on the criteria listed above and the following considerations. Maybe the public, retweets are an indicator of public interest. Because the more people who retweet it, that means the more of the public is engaged in what is being said. What do I know? I don't have 100,000 followers. These are the considerations. The immediacy and severity of potential harm from the rule violation with an emphasis on ensuring physical safety. Whether preserving a tweet will allow others to hold the official or candidate accountable for their statements. Okay, that's a good one. Whether there are other sources of information about the statement available for the public to stay informed, i.e. fake news they don't like, and if removal would inadvertently hide context or prevent people from understanding an issue, and if the tweet provides a unique context or perspective not available elsewhere that is necessary to a broader discussion. You see how when it's written like this is lawyers talking. And this is written in a certain way because they're trying to get ahead of this, arguing for regulation. They're saying we're being objective and we're following specific rules, because then you can't say, oh, you're discriminating. And the teleprompter just left. Okay. In instances where a tweet violates our rules and our review doesn't find that it would be in the public interest to leave it up, I'm sorry, everything that a politician says is in the public interest by definition, if they tweet it out. They are representing the population of the state or the congressional district. We will require the account owner to remove the tweet. Either way, this notice will make our decision-making clearer. No, it won't. It really won't. When a tweet has this notice placed on it, it will feature less prominently on Twitter and not appear in Safe Search, Timeline, when switched to top tweets, live events pages, recommended tweet, the notifications tab, or explore. They're shadow banning, which they don't do. This notice won't be applied to any tweets sent before today, and it's unlikely you'll encounter it often. We cannot predict the first time it will be used. Oh, I have an idea. But we wanted to give you more information about this new notice before you come across it on Twitter. Over time, public interest in how it's defined on Twitter may change as we observe different types of behavior. We'll continue to evaluate how our rules, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's pretty clear what is happening here. When they say the rules are going to be clearer, they're telling the truth, although not in the way that they think. And one last thing I wanted to discuss, which is something really bad that happened this weekend. Excuse me. So Andy Go, NGO is his last name. I think it's pronounced Go. That's what Tom Woods said. He was in Portland over the weekend, and he was filming protest. Antifa were there. He had tweeted ahead of time. He was worried. They got him. They beat the shit out of him. We got some pictures of Andy, right?
Is this a segment?
I'm skipping the Angela Merkel thing.
Isn't this the
Oh, no. Let's just do the pictures. I mean,
okay.
I don't. This is. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was on me. I was gonna have this as Night Rage, but this is not. This is too disturbing just to act upset. That's more for petty things than things which are actually disturbing. So there's arguments. Okay, so he got milkshaked, right? Which is the thing to do du jour. As I believe I've discussed in the show, this happened to Farage, and Sam Harris had a tweet where he said, what this is a dress rehearsal for assassinations, because you're demonstrating publicly to everyone how easy it is to get access to this person and get close to them. And that was a very, I thought, extremely profound tweet. So there's rumors going around on the internet, I don't know if it's been verified, that Antifa specifically mixed quick drying cement with the milkshake, which is very caustic when it touches human skin. I don't know about that. What is unambiguous are a couple of things. One is, okay, he got milkshaked. Here's the other thing. We live in a world where we are told that words are violence. And if you misgender someone, which is, I agree, very disrespectful, that is violence. It is not violence. It is contempt. It is disrespect. It should not be tolerated. I don't tolerate it. I had Janae Marie Kroc on You're Welcome last week, world champion powerlifter, as a guy. Then he transitioned to a woman. People thought they were cute on Twitter, trying to teach the strongest man on earth how to be a real man. It was just really amazing. People who do that aren't clever. I don't like aggressive banality. So a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of these lefties who really want you dead, we're like, oh, it's just milkshake. It's like, wait. So if someone gets called the wrong pronoun, you're ready to get them fired. But if a 5'5" gay Vietnamese guy, yeah, Bill Schultz is Vietnamese. If a 5'5" gay Vietnamese guy gets by himself in a crowd of people who have singled him out and threatened him before, gets some thrown at him, oh, it's fine. I have never had anything thrown at me in public. I can't imagine it is not very, very scary when someone covers you in milkshake or whatever it is, and no one around you is helping. That is the scary part. Because it's one thing, okay, I'm sticky and gross. It's like, wait a minute. All these people see this. They're either neutral or cheering it on. And when mobs see weakness, things escalate very quickly. This is very known. Okay? Andy ended up going to the hospital, right? We have pictures of that, I believe. Yeah. He had a brain hemorrhage. Now, there were lots of reactions on Twitter, and I'm going to call out the people who got it right. Jake Tapper was like, what the hell is this shit? Brian Stelter condemned it. Parker Malloy from the jihadi group Media Matters for America. At first, she had a little joke about it because she just saw his backpack with some like milkshake on it. She's like, oh, what'd you jizz on your backpack? Something like that. Then she saw these pictures like, holy shit. I was completely wrong. I'm leaving up this tweet for transparency. This is completely, just very unambiguous. So credit to all three of them. There were so many people, these blue checks, who were on Twitter, and their first reaction was, well, he's not really a journalist. The fuck are you talking about? Okay. So little Asian people should be assaulted in public, depending on their profession? Okay, number one. Number two is, he was provoking them. That's not a thing. This is fucking America. You go where you want. You film what you want. Look at the Covington kids. Who was provoking whom? Nathan Phillips, you can easily say, was provoking the Covington kids. If they did anything to retaliate against him, they should have legal consequences. He got in their face and was banging a drum. You stand there, you fucking take it. Either in a private space or in a public space. This is not controversial to say. This is very known. But all these blue check marks were bending over backwards to excuse this behavior or look the other way. Meanwhile, Ali Alexander, a buddy of mine, had a tweet pointing out correctly that Kamala Harris is not African American, that she's half Indian and half Jamaican, which is a very different cultural experience as people who are descendants of slaves. The backlash all weekend, people are losing their fucking minds. And thankfully, because I am a genius, I remembered that on this fucking show, we covered, I think a month ago, when Don Lemon was yelling at April Ryan about, Don Lemon, very black, about yelling at April Ryan, also black, that Kamala Harris is not African American, that the Caribbean experience is not the same thing, it's not Jim Crow, she's whatever. And April Ryan's like, well, at one point literally says, what about Ted Cruz? And Don Lemon goes, we're not talking about Ted Cruz. And all weekend, Meghan McCain and all the Democrats, oh my God, Kamala Harris is the victim of racist attacks. You're saying she's not, you're accurately saying she's not African American. This is, oh my God, this is a fucking outrage. And I fucking post that video everywhere. And I did a master thread because Nick Monroe got kicked off Twitter. I said, here's all the Democratic candidates for president. There's been a lot of talk, whatever you think, that Trump is an unprecedented attack on the First Amendment. The press has never been under greater attack in this country than under Trump. If you look at this, who's the real victim here? Jim Acosta. I tweeted this out. It went wide. I said, the corporate press is more upset that Jim Acosta got his press pass revoked than that this happened to Andy Ngo. Very little coverage. Every single presidential candidate from the Democrats, silent. The one exception was this morning, Andrew Yang broke his silence, and I'm not going to make a racist joke. And he's condemned it. And now maybe the others will follow suit. It was absolutely, and thankfully, if it wasn't for social media, you'd never know about this. But there was a huge brouhaha. It was trending. Michelle Malkin she retweeted a GoFundMe. He raised $100,000 to cover his costs. I'm going to tell you something else. I've never been in a situation like this. I hope none of you ever have. You can't tell me that if your job is to be man on the street filming and something like this happens to you, it's not going to fuck you up in the head for a long time. Once beaten, twice shy. I'm sure it's traumatic. because next time you're going to be, and now they know they get away with it the first time. 12 people arrested, all white. Not a big surprise. All right, I will see you all tomorrow. We're going to cover Angela Merkel's she caught a disease from Hillary. But until then, I wish you, and Marianne Williamson, oh my God, I'm in love with this woman now. She's fucking legit. And I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, I wish you sweet dreams.
We got some big girls. I hope they don't have diabetes. You look really familiar, Mom. You must have a television.